Okay, so functional magnetic resonance imaging. It's called also fMRI. And this is one of the most powerful methods that drove consciousness research, as I reviewed in week one. Since 1990s, people are now routinely have used functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, and then to try to understand what is happening inside the brain when people see stimulus or not, and so on, such as motion-induced blindness or backward masking inside the scanner, and then separated the trials or bolder fMRI response only when people reported seeing the stimulus or not, and so on. And that has resulted in a huge amount of the empirical data to talk about consciousness in the current research. However, the fMRI turns out to be very complicated, actually, in terms of its relationship between the neurons and its signal. And its signal is called a blood oxygenation level dependent signal, BOLD signal. And what it means is that what fMRI, as its name says, magnetic resonance, is measuring is in effect, it is the blood and food's oxygenation level. Okay, and the idea is that when neuron becomes active, then it consumes a lot of energy, and then either when the system anticipates that blood the energy is going to be exhausted a lot, or because of the actual consumption of the lots of energy due to the neuronal firing, the blood supply to the local area becomes increased, and also it is also accompanied by the transient sort of the increase of the blood volume and the flow and so on, and then in the as a result, the um, the local concentration of the CO2 versus O2, oxygenated, carbonate hydrate changes, and then we can actually visualize by some ingenious technique and concept of this bold imaging. We can see how this blood oxygen level dependent signal changes at each location of the brain. And that gives you this fMRI activation pattern of the brain, roughly speaking. And as I said, the relationship between the bold signal and synaptic inputs and spiking outputs from the area are highly complex, and it's most likely dependent on each area of the brain to some extent. So when I presented this image in last week, this is one of the most groundbreaking study in last 20 years. So here the vegetative, presumably at that time, it's presumed that this person was a persistent vegetative state, but it turned out to be minimally conscious. This particular person were able to voluntarily generate a neural activity, depending on whether he is imagining playing tennis, or moving around in the house. Okay, and when when you see this yellow or red thing picture in the journal papers, typically what it means is that in contrast to the baseline activity, how much these areas become active, inferred from the bold signals after lots of pre-processing. Okay, so it means that, for example, here, this particular area of the brain became more active compared to baseline, in this case, not doing anything. When he imagined walking, this part of the brain increased the bold signal over there. And here, this is compared to the baseline, it increased due to the tennis imagery. So First thing to note is that fMRI activity never is able to directly measure the amount of the spike firing. Okay, this is very different from spike recording or LFP recording or ECG and even MEG or EEG. EEG or MEG is something that we can actually directly measure the amount of the electrical activity. But fMRI is always in contrast between one particular situation versus a baseline situation. And here is one of the most critical studies performed roughly 20 years ago by Nikos Logothithis, whose work is going to be important in the consciousness research, which I will feature in the next couple of weeks. And what he did is to invent this fMRI machine suited for a monkey. And then because it is performed on the monkey, they could also record neural activity directly with the electrode implanted inside the brain. There is a lots of technical details that I'm going to skip completely. But what Logothithis was able to do, and his colleague was able to do, is to cancel all the electrical noise generated by this magnetic resonance imaging, measurement, which is just, phenomenally fantastic. It's even difficult to do right now. And 20 years ago, it was presumably more difficult as well. But, they did it, with exquisite, precision.